right, welcome all this afternoon to the advisement session of the Master of Arts degree program in International Crime and Justice. We are filming this today because we realized that in the past some students aren't able to join us, and so they'll be able to watch this afterwards and reap the same benefits, especially our students from abroad, most of whom haven't crossed the Atlantic or other oceans to come here yet. They might be watching us at a later point. I am Rosemary Barberet, I'm your program director, and I'd like to start the afternoon. I hope you all have your packet and the agenda with a welcome from Anila Duro, who is Executive Associate to Jeanette Domingo, the Dean of Graduate Studies at John Jay College of Criminal Justice, who couldn't be with us today, but Anila is here to welcome you, and she'll also be available for those of you who haven't registered to help you register this afternoon later, so we'll be taking account for that. Welcome.
And baby are here. So welcome to John Jay, welcome to Graduate Studies. Congratulations on your acceptance. You should all be excited, correct? Right? Because we are all. So I just got off the phone with the dean, and she couldn't be here today due to some other college functions, but she welcomes you. Her name is Dr. Janet Domingo, and we're located in this building, 411. So I have a few things for you today to say, besides welcome. You should be very excited to enter this program. And in the office, we're very excited because this is one of the programs that we developed together with your program directors and the faculty, so we had to start from scratch. Okay, what do we have you take, what courses, how to prepare you for internships and job opportunities. So I think it's a great program to start with. And in addition to that, our office is committed to international affairs and international human rights, so you get special treatment a little bit. Inside your folders, you have what our office has prepared for you. Is we call it Staff and Resource Directory, and this is where you all start to get assistance by knowing the phone number and who to contact. So our office is the Graduate Studies office, again, room 411, 2 floors down from here. And we provide a lot of assistance to students in terms of advisement, registration, academic support, and any other issues that you will come up with in your 2.5 years of study or less. So I'll be on maternity leave, but as you will see, Ms. Agnes Brown will substitute for me, and you could contact her with any questions you have or assistance you need, registration, faculty-related concerns in addition to your program director. We have Janice Harrington, our administrative director in the office, who also works with you very closely. Our graduate career advisor, who you'll hear from her later on. And we have Dr. Solis, who is the faculty associate to the dean, and she should also be your point person in the office. I have Dr. Solis' cards here. Please pick one. She's the one that has arranged this session with you, but unfortunately, due to some family issues, she couldn't be with you today here. But she expresses her congratulations, and she also welcomes you. What graduate resources do you have, in addition to the staff that supports you tremendously? In the back of this card, you'll also see other services, but I want to point to you that our office works very closely with the students to find out what your needs are. So we offer regular workshops during the semester, including academic support, statistics, and any other area that we find you need to receive some support. In addition to that, next to our office, we have the Graduate Student Center, room 410, which is a great place for you to be and meet your fellow students. In addition to that, we have a graduate computer lab, which is around the corner on the 4th floor. So 4th floor is kind of your home. 436 is the statistics lab, and we have support there, especially when you have to take Criminal Justice 716, which is the SPSS class. And for those of you who haven't used computers in a while, or statistics is not your strongest, please, we want you to visit the lab and get the support that you need. So these are some of the things that I wanted to share with you. I'll be around The dean will be around in the summer and then in the fall, of course, stop by the office to say hi. And if you have any questions, I'll be around, and we'll get to know each other. I know you're great students, being accepted into this program. You must have been, because otherwise you wouldn't have been accepted. And I look forward to working with you a little bit this week, and then when I come back, but you'll be here for a while, I know. So congratulations, and welcome to John Jay. Welcome to this international institution. You are international. We consider ourselves global citizens, and you are the mirror. So I look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Okay. I'd like to introduce myself and tell you sort of what my role is, and then I'm going to introduce a very dear colleague, Dr. Evan Bornstein. This program is only in its official third year. You are the third cohort. You're about the same size as the second cohort, about 28 students. The first cohort was about 30 students. You've been selected very carefully by a committee of 3 people following the standards of graduate admissions. So your acceptance means that we believe you have the potential to do well in the program, and we're counting on you to prove that to us. But certainly the reason we admitted you is because you convinced us through your essays, your grades, your GREs, your TOEFLs, your reference letters, that you were able and willing to complete the program, and we're really focused on helping you do that. And that is my major role. So along with advising you today, the program director is the one to advise you throughout your course of study, to deal with any inquiries about courses, coursework, to mediate if there are any issues with faculty or coursework that cause any kind of tension, conflict, misunderstandings, to access services for you that you're not able for some reason to access on your own, to link you up to serve as a broker for other services at the college, and further beyond in CUNY. So I'm sort of the first go-to person. I'm backed up by Carmen Solis, who is the faculty advisor to the dean. She is the one who backs up the program director when we're away at conferences, or when there's an overload of demand on the program director. She's sort of the assistant to all of the program directors. And she's been here longer than I have. I have been here for 7 years. She's been here much longer, so she's another resource person for you. And then obviously there are the people in graduate studies whose function is to do very similar things to what I do, but I'm really your program go-to. So if your question is, what is this course about? What do I take first and then next? What do you think I should pursue in terms of a track? I'm the one to go to. I'm assisted by a peer advisor, and she's just graduated. She most likely will be staying on, but if her career takes off, we'll be selecting a different peer advisor for you. That's Tiffany Berry, and because she's actually working at the moment, I expect her to be here towards the end of the afternoon. This coming fall, you may know, because I think I've mentioned it in the letter, I will be on sabbatical. The students in the second cohort were quite taken aback by this because they thought that it meant some illness in the family, but sabbaticals are professors' fantasies. They're our mecca. We get them every 7 years. We always take them. They are times that we devote not to teaching, but to research and writing. But it means that we're not on campus usually. Very often we are exempt of our duties. So during that time we find wonderful colleagues that we have to substitute for us. And we're lucky to have one of the faculty members of the program come forward, and this is Dr. Evan Bornstein. I'd like to introduce him and ask him to come to the front and introduce himself to you. He will be your go-to person for the fall only. So as I said in the letter, I'll be seeing you through to the start of classes. He'll be taking over, and I'll be back in February. He again has been at John Jay longer than I have and is more than competent to handle you. So I'd like him to say a few words and introduce himself. He'll also be a professor for those of you that are taking Culture and Identity in Global Context. He is teaching that course.
Welcome everybody. I'm not going to take a lot of your time. So you just heard I'm filling in Professor Barberet fall, so you'll be patient with me if I have to make a couple extra phone calls. I haven't been through this but I have been at John Jay a long time and have been was part of the team that helped put together the program. So I'm not starting from zero, and work with the graduate office on a lot of stuff. So I really, my own work is most of my published work is based on field work in the occupied territories, Israel Palestine stuff about the impact of policing on military on civilian populations. But I do a lot of stuff in New York and a lot of different projects, and a lot of stuff globally speaking. So I look forward to meeting you individually in the fall, and welcome you again.
Thank you. I'd now like, before I introduce Linda Mitchell to you, just so we can have a bit more of a background, if you could each introduce yourselves and say where you did your undergraduate studies and what in, and what most attracted you to the program. How about that? Would you mind starting?
I'm actually not one of the 30 students that were accepted. I'm pretty supportive later, but still getting my undergrad in Delphi.
Okay, wonderful. Welcome.
My name is Leah Khan, and I just graduated from Delphi University. And so I live in Long Island, so it's kind of my main city. But I think what most attracted me to this program is I've always been, my field was what I like to see what's happening, and I know this is the program that I can pursue my studies in.
Okay, welcome. Yes, we have an elective, our first elective on human trafficking running actually as of July 2nd this summer. So it's on the books and it will be offered again.
My name is Roger Changarden. I studied in France, in Israel, and down at Columbia University in business. I have been in finance for many years, and I'm interested in starting a career and contributing to society using my life experience.
My name is Linda Ghazi. I got my bachelor's from Rutgers in criminal justice. I initially wanted to go through with the CIA, but over the years I've been interested in human rights advocacy and international law.
Javier Martinez. I got my undergrad in criminal justice from SUNY Albany.
Javier, can you speak louder?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm Javier Martinez. I got my undergrad from SUNY Albany, from Albany, New York. And what really interested me in international crime and justice at John Jay was human trafficking courses, as well as really learning about the genocide in Darfur and just more ways how we can address that as really as a world.
Hi everyone, my name is Christina Russo. I'm from Romania. I studied in Romania psychology. I minored in social policy in Athens, in Greece. I also finished a master's degree in London in criminology, and I'm really interested to pursue I've done research in human trafficking, and I was fascinated about crime in general. So that's why I wanted to pursue this.
I'm Catherine Eichenwell. I did my undergraduate at the University of California, Irvine. And what attracted me to John Jay was the focus on mobilization and crime on an international scale, which I find space as a bigger threat, and I would like to specialize in organized crime.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Maradiaga. I graduated from Case University with a degree in modern languages and American studies. And what interested me the most was just international law and terrorism.
Hello everybody, my name is Magda. Hello, my name is Magda. I graduated from Hunter College as my major was psychology. My minor was French, and there's a number of reasons that caused me to apply for this program. And one of them is that the program is about issues that are of interest to me and that I'm passionate about. And one of them is justice, but that's very broad.
My name is Jessica Burke. I graduated from SUNY Lupikes. I'm interested in this program because just growing up, I realized that the world is getting a lot smaller, and that's really where it's all going, is globalization, and also just criminology really interests me and what makes people do wrong things.
My name is Matt Golden. I actually have a master's here in criminal justice from John Jay. I'm interested in the international crime justice program because I want to gain knowledge about crime throughout the world.
Hi, I'm Michael. I'm from Scotland. For the last 9 years I've been working an intelligence analyst from police who's investigating organised crime. I'm looking forward to learning more about global organised crime from that course.
My name is Basma. I actually got my degree here at John Jay with International Criminal Justice. And I'm interested in international crime justice because it's just a continuation of my undergrad degree. And I'm currently working at Midtown Community Court, which is it's a criminal court. And I've been there for 2 years, and it just fascinated me more about the field that I'm in, and it made me want to continue working in the field. But my major interest is human rights, and I want to take the degree I get here outside of the United States because I feel the U.S. has enough geniuses, you know, and I feel that this knowledge, what we learn here, we should take to other places that really need it.
Hi everyone, my name is Afrodita Hake. I'm a former graduate of John Jay College in 2005. I completed my studies at John Jay, and I worked for the UN for a couple of years, and then I also did a little bit of the law school. And so right now I'm working for the Center for International Human Rights here at John Jay. I'm originally from Kosovo, so that partly describes some of my personal interest in international human rights. But I'm also, it just makes very good sense to me. I feel like I'm at home when I'm doing, you know, human rights and international work.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Ashish Batra. I'm an Indian Police Service officer. I did my graduation in computer science and just like a little bit of law, which I could not complete, unfortunately. So I have an experience of active policing in India for 15 years, and I've been working with the Department of Peacekeeping Operations in the United Nations at present. My interest is transnational crime and international law. That is why I'm here.
Hi, my name is Maria Prukovskaya. I'm a John Jay graduate in criminal justice program. I completed it 2 years ago, and I started working for Business Integrity as an intelligence analyst working with organized crime. And that's why I became interested in this program, because it has more of a global perspective. So that's what I want to be interested in.
Okay. All right. We have everything, right? Okay, we have a wonderful cohort. Very similar to other cohorts in that we have people with strong international experience, foreign languages, both law enforcement and human rights interests, which balance each other really nicely in our program. So it's actually a very similar cohort to the ones we had before. Welcome all of you, and I hope you'll get to know each other more today. And certainly because our coursework is fairly core heavy, you'll be seeing a lot of each other in all your courses. It's very easy to create community, and I'll be talking about that shortly. But first I'd like to introduce Linda Mitchell. She is our graduate career advisor, and she's also on the 4th floor. Linda, if you could come forth just so that you can be filmed. We didn't all know that we had to dress up today, but we did. You'll be having a separate session on internships and careers with Linda. So today I just asked her briefly to introduce herself, tell you what she does, and sort of start you off with a few pointers. So good afternoon. I don't hear you. Okay. I want to have to keep that energy high. I want to welcome you here to John Jay. We are really very excited that you are here, and you're going to have a fantastic experience. I feel so excited for you after listening to all of your backgrounds and your areas of interest, and they are very similar to my own personal interests. So I just want to begin by telling you a little bit about myself. Again, I am Linda Mitchell, which means beautiful big woman. And so, you know, we have to live up to our names. And just to give you a little insight about who I am as an individual, I've been working in higher education for 22 years. I worked here at John Jay for 6. And so it's been a very interesting and rewarding experience for me. So I just want to give you that information as a level of confidence to let you know that I am very experienced in the profession. I understand what some of your concerns, interests, challenges, opportunities may be as they relate to your profession and your future aspirations. So I just want to let you know that I'm with you, okay? And with that being said, just on the human side in terms of my own personal interests and how I feel connected to you, I am currently pursuing my doctorate degree and working on my dissertation sequence, which deals in the area specifically of human rights and globalization, and that impact specifically in terms of women and women's issues. But I'm not a feminist, but I have interest in just humanity. So I just want to put that out there to let you know that I understand that connective tissue as well. So in terms of what it is that I do here for you, I'm here to serve you. I'm here to help you to manifest your dreams. That does not mean that I believe in servitude. I'm here to help service you. I'm your reality check to make sure that you're on target so that you can move in the right direction. Often what happens when you're pursuing a career experience and you pursue education, you may look at that educational experience as the qualifier for getting the job. When you get that education, what you're obtaining is knowledge, but that is not necessarily experience. And so when you are pursuing your educational knowledge here, a part of my mission is to assist you in cultivating certain skills that parents for the job market are looking for if your aim is to pursue employment. Not everyone who pursues higher education is seeking employment opportunities. Everyone has their own interests and their own value system. And I work with you to sort of noodle out what that is. And some people's values are different. Some people are motivated by power, some people are motivated by money, some people are motivated by influence. You either know what that motivation is, or I'm going to help you to discover what that motivation is so that you can move in the direction for where you want to be. That's going to be a part of moving on that path. And the next part is looking at, in fulfilling your career aspirations, is to look at whether or not you can leap into a job, which could be realistic for some individuals, and it may not be as probable for others. And that's going to be based on your interests, your values, your expectations, what the market is calling for, and your flexibility. So I help you to discover those things, or to look at how you can be flexible within environments that may not have the same kind of liquidity. So that's a very important thing as you begin to shape and mold yourself, where you look at where do you want to be. Do you just leap into that experience, or do you have to cultivate a path? And sometimes people have lots of experience in one kind of environment, and they may think that it's an easy segue into another field of experience. And that may not be the case. If we find out that that is going to be the experience, then what we look at are methods and strategies to help you segue into those experiences. And those are usually converted into practitioner opportunities. That comes into another play in terms of how do we help to facilitate that. Well, we facilitate through our programs and services where we invite professionals who are very experienced in the field to meet with you as a part of our communities of practice, where you're engaging with them, finding out more about the profession from their professional experience and what those experiences have led to, some antidotes, in a very intimate type of setting, not in an auditorium setting, but where you have actual face time with those professionals. And then the other aspect of that communication and dialogue is where you also get to meet with other individuals, or those same individuals, where they also discuss their own personal path. That can be very important to you because it humanizes the profession, and it can alleviate some of your concerns or your fears or trepidation that you may have in terms of linking and connecting with practitioners who may be doing what you want to do. So we want to try and bridge those experiences for you. But it involves work. Is the work on my part? Yes. But really all the work comes from you. comes from what you put out academically to get to this point right now. It's based on what you do right now and all of the work that you're going to be doing later on. So we want to help to move you and advance you professionally from that particular kind of vein in terms of the services. When should you start? Immediately. Today is the first day of the rest of your life. It's true. So I would say that you'd want to begin that process immediately. Inside your welcome packets, there is some information in terms of how to contact me. And I also brought some additional business cards, which I would be happy to share with you. But I am located in this building in Heron Hall on the 4th floor. If that location changes, I will certainly make sure that I share that information with you. And I meet with students by appointment only, but we do have walk-in hours one day during the week. So I would say take advantage of that. I'd like to meet with you each at least 5 contact points. And it's going to be very important for you because we should begin to cultivate your experiences right now for the next 18 months. Right now. Wherever you are right now, you're not going to be in the same position 18 months from now. It's inevitable that you will change, and the expectation is that you will. So you'll be changing and growing academically, but you should also be making those changes and movement professionally as well. And so I will be working with you in that type of opportunity as well. In terms of the job market for your field of knowledge, are you concerned about what that market looks like? You should be concerned. But I can tell you that the market is picking up. It's an exciting opportunity. There are so many different things that are happening in the world as the world becomes flatter, but the doors are opening up for you. Intergenerationally. This is an exciting time for you to make moves, to be a mover and shaker, to learn, and to be a teacher in the field. So I want to let you know that while the market can seem like a frightening type of place, we like to think that John Jay students can be recession-proof. So we work very hard at assisting you in terms of exploring opportunities and securing those opportunities. So that's the academic, that's the practitioner, and then of course there's additional work, which is the preparation for you going out into the field. And so we assist you with that as well. So that just gives you sort of an overview. Did I ever talk? Great. Okay. In terms of what we can do with you. I want to give you an idea of some of the interesting places that some of our graduate students in general have interned and are working. Some of the national obvious places, of course, are the American Red Cross. We've had students work with the New York State Human Rights Commission, the Mayor's Office on Immigrant Affairs, Interpol, Department of Homeland Security, the United Nations, the Consulate to Montenegro, let's see, the United Nations High Commission on Refugees, the Witness Organization, just to name a few. Also the Mayor's Office for Protocol that deals specifically with the United Nations and the various protocols for all the consulars, offices that are located in New York. So that's just an abridged listing of some of the organizations. And of course, there are people that may want to work with an NGO. They may not necessarily want to work directly with a government organization, or they may want to work internationally. So what we try to do is to assist students with customizing the experience. You do not get, on the graduate level, a cookie cutter experience where everybody is walking around with the same template, being roboted into the same environments. We do a full personalized assessment in terms of what your interests are, and if they can move into a particular environment, You may find that you want to do X, Y, and Z, but that opportunity may not be in Wisconsin, where you're from. It may be in California. So we will look at whether or not you have the ability to do that. You may want to pursue an opportunity to work in Washington, D.C. And so we assist students with facilitating that as well. And so we've had students who work with the State Department, who've gone to Washington for a semester, and they were liked so well that they've gone on and stayed for subsequent semesters. So, you know, there are different experiences that students can have, and you really will be your own conductor. I'm just here to help facilitate that movement, be the reality check, help keep you on point, and make sure that you have at least 18 months of demonstrated experiences that should benefit you. So when you look at, from a professional standpoint, having at least 18 months of experience in your chosen profession, along with your educational experience, in some circles that may be equivalent to at least 5 years, between 3 and 5 years of professional experience. So you're not leaving the program inexperienced, and that should be a concern of yours. It's not leaving and not having enough experience to transition. So I think that I've just given you just a little taste of what I'd like to be able to do with you and what you can expect, and I'm really looking forward to working with you. I congratulate you, and I wish you the best. Okay, we're going to thank you, Linda. We're going to move on our agenda and talk about specifics of program requirements. I have a feeling that most of you have probably already registered. Can I see a show of hands? So those who have not? Okay. About 5 or so? Okay. Anila Duro is going to be available at the end of our session, and I think we might end early, to help those register if they're able to do so, if your immunizations are checked and so on. So you could actually get that done today if you wanted to, with some hands-on assistance. But I just want to go over the curriculum in case there's any doubts, speak about some specifics that may not have been covered in the letter, such as transfer of credit, e-permits, and doctoral courses, and discuss the language proficiency, and also try to get you thinking already about the tracks. When we designed the program, and this may ring a bell to you if you attended any of the open houses, when we designed the program, we designed it in a faculty committee that was multidisciplinary. So many of us sat around the table, and when that usually happens in academia, everybody says, well, they have to take a bit of economics, which is my subject, or they have to take a bit of anthropology, which is my subject. And that resulted in a degree that, as you have seen, is relatively core heavy. Some people call it European looking, in that there are 8 core courses for a total of 36 credits. So 2/3 of those credits are consumed in courses which you must take and where you will all be together. When we initially designed this program, we did think that this was a good curricular design, but we wondered if students would find it too rigid, and we find actually the opposite, that students are happy to be together in so many core courses. And given that this is a commuter school and we really don't have halls of residence or dorms, students find that they make their friends in the classroom. And our 2 cohorts have actually been very close. And I'm going to tell you how you guys can also create that kind of community, which is very necessary in graduate school, and particularly in graduate schools where people are not living on campus. So the core courses include Culture and Identity in Global Context, taught this fall by Dr. Bornstein. It will be hopefully taught by another professor from his department, Patricia Tovar, in the spring. International Law and World Order, ICJ 703, and I'm following, for those of you who are following at home, I'm following the director's letter that you were sent, that's also in your packet. International Law and World Order is our course that is a combination of international law and international relations. Generally taught by our political science department. It will be taught by Professor Jennifer Rutledge in the fall and Professor George Andriopoulos in the spring. Comparative Criminal Justice Systems, ICJ 702. This is your criminal justice course. It will be taught by Professor Klaus von Lampe in the fall and by Professor Stacy Strobel in the spring. And research methods, ICJ 715. This is your research methods course. It will be taught by Professor Chitra Raghavan from psychology in the fall and a new professor, Veronica Michellubiano, in the spring. CRJ 716, using computers in social research, which is a course that you take alongside students in the criminal justice program. And so there are several sections of this taught by different professors from the criminal justice program. ICJ 700, International Crime and Justice Theory, which will be taught this spring and thereafterwards every semester by Professor Jana Arsovska in Sociology, and International Economics, ICJ 701, which will be taught this spring and every semester thereafter, currently taught by Christopher Warburton from the Economics Department. The capstone seminar is the final 8th course. It can only be taken after the others are completed, and I'll talk about sequencing in a minute. And that will be offered next fall. Some of you may be ready next fall for it. It's offered every semester. Next fall, it will be Professor Natarajan or Professor Desmond Arias. And that is a synthesis course. After that, we move into tracks. So those are the 8 core courses. The prerequisites for these courses are few. Public Administration 704, as most of you should know, is the prerequisite for international economics unless you've already taken an undergraduate economics course, and some of you have. So if you have not taken an undergraduate economics course, you need to take Public Administration 704, which is a graduate level introductory economics course, before you enroll in ICJ 701, International Economics. So we generally advise you to do that in the fall if you plan to take international economics as soon as the spring. And Statistics 250 is an undergraduate economics course that we require you to take before you complete CRJ 716. It is helpful to take it even before you take ICJ 715, the methods course, but you certainly must take it. In other words, the system will not let you enroll for CRJ 716 until you have completed an undergraduate statistics course. If you've already taken one as part of your undergraduate curriculum, then you are exempt from that. If you do need to take it, we again recommend you take it your first semester here. It's always good to get prerequisites out of the way the first semester. And graduate students can take this course pass-fail. The grade for that course does not calculate into your GPA anyway, and so graduate students can opt to take the course pass-fail. Those are the 2 prerequisites. Apart from that, the only sequencing in the program is that you must complete the first 7 core courses before you do the capstone. The capstone course, as I said, is a synthesis course. It's a capstone, meaning it's the final brick on the wall. It's a popular curricular element at John Jay and in CUNY, and particularly in programs that are multidisciplinary. The purpose of this course is to help you put together all the other courses. It's generally a more project and applied course, and so it cannot be taken until all the other courses have been taken. Exceptionally, the program director can waive one of the one of the 4 courses if it's taken concurrently. So what you're trying to do, if you're on a full-time schedule, is to complete the 7 core courses before next fall so that you can be in line to take the capstone in the fall. But again, all core courses starting this spring will now be offered once a semester. Once a semester, so twice a year. In the summertime, they are offered on demand. We need at least 8 students to run a course in the summertime, so I usually survey students sometime in the spring to see who needs a certain course to stay on track, and then we'll try to offer it in the summer. We're doing that this summer. We're offering a core course in the summer. But generally the summer is a time to take PAD 704, Stats 250, or electives. Right? And electives, the same way they were undergraduate, they are catch as catch can, right? Which means that they are dependent on the will of the faculty member that teaches them. If that faculty member decides to teach something else a certain semester, that elective may not be offered. So when you see an elective that you like, it's best to take it, or to contact the professor of the course and ask when will it be offered the next time around. Okay. So far we've covered prerequisites, the core curriculum, and course sequencing. If we can now think of what is a realistic course load before we talk about moving on to the tracks, this depends very much on how many hours you work, your other responsibilities, be they family or otherwise, and how brain engaging your employment is. So generally at John Jay, program directors will say if you're working full-time, it's realistic not to take more than 1 or 2 courses. Right? That would put you at part-time status. Full-time status in graduate school is 4 courses. I believe for international visa purposes, full-time is 3 courses. At John Jay, full-time is considered to be 4 courses. But if you're working full-time, we would say consider 1 to 2 courses. If you're working part-time, we would say 2 to 3. Now some of you will say, yes, but I've been at my job for a great many years and it's not taxing on my brain and I can even study at work. That changes the scenario, right? Or some of you will say, I work part-time, but I have children, I have elderly parents to care for, I have other issues, so then that would make you want to cut back. Keep in mind that in graduate school, you must maintain a 3.0, which is a B average to graduate. So you must be very nurturing of your GPA. If you are interested in the internship track or the thesis track, you must maintain a 3.5 GPA, which is a B+. So this means that, unlike undergraduate, where you can graduate in many places with a 2.0 or a C, and where often you can sit in the back of the room and coast, and where there are some courses that are very easy, like physical education, or many of the other things that we took to sort of give us a breather in our schedules. There are a few breathers in your schedule here. The classes are small. The professors expect you to participate actively, and it will be very noticeable if you have not done the reading. This is something that you will feel the first semester, and the first semester is often a bit of an adjustment for students simply because they are used to what it was like when they graduated from undergrad, and find it hard to get up to the speed of graduate school, which is different. And as I said, you will feel it, and we want you to feel it because that's how we know that you're getting your money's worth, that you're saying, oh, this is no longer undergrad, this is something else. Expectations are different, I need to manage my time differently, and certainly I need to always maintain a 3.0 GPA. Okay? What happens, you'll say, if I don't maintain it? And there are cases of students who have not maintained it. Students who don't maintain a B average are usually put on probation, which means that you can only take 2 courses your following semester. They're put on a watch list, and you get a letter from the dean. And if your grade average does not improve after that, it is likely you will be dismissed. In other words, we calculate what you would need to get to graduate, and if at that point it's not mathematically possible for you to make a 3.0, then we will dismiss you at that point, simply to save you money. Okay, so this is something very important to consider. When is it important to consider? It is important to consider this particularly if somehow your extracurricular activities change. If you do get a job, and this is an exciting job, and you need to devote a lot of energy to that job, we do understand. And so we expect you to cut back your coursework if that's going to be your priority. If your family arrangements change, we expect you then to cut back your coursework accordingly. And John Jay is one of the most flexible places, like CUNY, at letting you do this. You can go from full-time to part-time. You can take a semester off. You have 8 years to get your degree. So it's a very flexible place. But it means that you need to plan ahead. So some students may say, well, I think, even with my part-time job, I can do 3 or 4 courses. And I say, try. But after the first 2 weeks, don't be hesitant to drop those courses if it's too many. Try after your first assignments to see what kinds of grades you're getting, and if you're not pulling at least a B in your coursework, then you might want to think about dropping that course, for which you might lose some money. So you need to plan very carefully so that you're dedicating the right amount of work to your studies and maintaining that average, which is the average that will finally let you graduate. You cannot graduate by law from John Jay without at least a 3.0. Okay, so that's something very important. And I think very different from undergraduate, where people are careful with their grades. But in graduate school, you need to be extra careful simply because by law, you need that grade point average to graduate. Realistic course loads then are very important. Are grades important otherwise? Well, yes, they are important in grad school. They can get you on the dean's list. They can make you eligible for scholarships. And in general, you cannot expect your faculty members to open their Rolodexes of professional contacts unless you've done well in their courses, right? And remember, every person that you're meeting in graduate school is a possible networking opportunity yourselves as well as your faculty. Faculty hear internships, research opportunities, jobs all the time. And they're looking at you very carefully in the classroom to think, well, if I recommended this person, would that look favorably on me? Right? So your first task and most important task in graduate school is to do well in the classroom, right? To come well prepared, to participate actively in class, to take interest in the subject, to get to know your faculty members, and to pursue your education as a responsible, mature adult. That's really what we're looking for here. Professors will respond, as well as other people at John Jay, when they see that you are hardworking, have a sincere interest, are mature, and are willing to sort of go the mile in the classroom, because that's really where most of our interaction with you is going to take place, in the classroom and in our offices. Okay, looking ahead to the tracks, I'm going to skip ahead just for a minute. It's not too early to be thinking about the tracks, and again, this isn't a 4-year degree. It is if you're part-time, but if you're full-time, your degree will be over in 2 years. So you have much less time than you did undergrad to sort of find yourself. There's really no gen ed here, no distributive course requirements. It's all subject matter that is specialized in international crime and justice. And you can be out of here, some people have worked it actually to be out of here in a 1.5 years, okay, depending if they transfer credits from previous master's degrees or choose a certain route. That means that it's not too early to look ahead to the tracks. And it's at this point where you need to think, given your interests, given where you want to be after you finish your degree, given your time investment, your possible time investment, what would be the most feasible track for you? The quickest way out are the comprehensive exams. The comprehensive exams put no credit load on you unless you wish to take the optional comprehensive review course, which is essentially a course where all the faculty that have taught you core courses meet with you and review their courses with you. But that is optional. And then it is a 5-hour sit-down exam. That is the quickest way out, and it is the way out certainly for people who are working full-time and cannot do an internship or a thesis simply because of time constraints. And for that, a 3.0 GPA is all that is required. So that is sort of the most expedient way out. Is it risky? Yes, you can fail the comprehensive exams, and students have failed them, but you can retake them. You have 2 tries to pass them. And other master's programs typically have comprehensive exams as one of their ways out. The second track is the internship track. The internship track is a 6-credit course, so it adds 6 credits to the 24 credits of your core courses. It entails 280 hours in a placement and an online course. Why is it online? It's the only one of our courses that is online, but we really didn't feel we were an international MA if we didn't let you do a placement outside the tri-state area. So that's why that course is online, allowing you to do this component of the program anywhere you like. And this is where we liaise with the services of Linda Mitchell to find a placement ahead of time for you that I say it needs to be a jewel placement, needs to be a very good placement because you will be spending a lot of time there. When we designed the program, We thought about, well, should this be a 10-hour-a-week placement the way we do undergrad internships? Should it be full-time? And we settled on 20 hours a week, which is enough of a presence so that people begin to count on you. You're there with enough regularity so that they get to know you, so that they can mentor you, and so that you can put in enough time that it can actually count as hours or days of experience on a resume. And so it's very much an investment of your time. Obviously, you have to have about 20 hours a week plus time for the course to do the internship track. And the internship track has a 3.5 minimum GPA. The third track is a thesis. And a thesis in our program entails 2 3-credit courses, so a total of 6 credits to be added to the 24 core course credits. They are all done via a one-on-one course with your faculty advisor, who is someone that you can select among John Jay faculty, full-time John Jay faculty, or you can ask to be placed or ask to be liaised with a faculty advisor. But the decision is one that you take along with your program director. It functions very much as 2 semesters of an independent study, if you like to think of it that way, undergraduate, and the result is either a traditional thesis or a publishable manuscript for a journal article. So you have the option. And this is a fairly frequent option these days in master's programs. Well, it's realized that some students may wish to do a thesis, traditional thesis, which could run anywhere from 40 to 100 pages, and others would like to work on a shorter document, but that is actually ready to be sent to a journal. And so with their faculty advisor, they end up working on something that is pretty much the same amount of work as a traditional thesis, but the final product is shorter and has to be at the level of being ready to be sent to a journal for publication, even though that is not a condition of graduation that it actually be published. Okay? So that option is very popular for people who have the time to do it, who are interested in research, and who are looking to pursue PhD study afterwards. Most PhD programs like to see that you've done a master's thesis because it shows that you have preparation to do a doctoral dissertation. So we often recommend it for people who are interested. It can delay you. It can delay you if you are not self-motivated. It can delay you if problems arise and you can't keep on track. If you're not able to work for some reason one-on-one with a faculty advisor, if that's not the way you work best. And so the requirements for that are a 3.5 GPA and an A or A minus, both in research methods, ICJ 715, and CRJ 716 using computers in social research. So this is sort of the hardest thing to do, and the reason we made it hardest is because we realized that we really need very good, motivated students to do theses. It is probably the less popular option among our students at the moment, with the most popular being internship, and then second most, I would say, is the comprehensive exams. So it's not too early to start thinking about these things. Why do I say that? Because, as Linda Mitchell has told you, good internships these days, given the economic recession, often require experience. Unlike the old days where people did internships with no experience, to get experience, you will now find that you are competing for internships with New York's unemployed and the globally unemployed who wish to keep their resumes active by doing internships that were once reserved for students. You'll also find that internships, good internships, are competitive. They're very much like jobs because they often lead to jobs. So you will be competing with other people for internships, for which Linda Mitchell is your first port of call. She will, when you start the program, review your resume. She will edit it for you. She will find gaps in it, gaps in your skill sets, gaps in experience, and she might suggest pre-internships, volunteer work, or shorter internships for you to engage in that would make you attractive to more interesting opportunities for your track internship. Okay, so that's why the importance of Linda Mitchell. We realize that the job market is competitive. We realize that certainly in the tri-state area you are competing with very qualified people. We do have the corner on the market in criminal justice in New York City. I would say that John Jay is the place to come for criminal justice. and you are in the only international crime and justice program in the United States. So you have a number of advantages, and we want to make sure that when you graduate, you are ready either for employment or for doctoral studies, which is why we have these 3 tracks for you to consider. Okay, let me go on and talk very briefly about language proficiency and a few of these other topics, and then maybe we can have a short Q&A just so I'm not talking at you the whole time, and then we'll move on to the funner topics, which are about how we create community in our program. It is possible to transfer graduate credit, and this is something I would like to save Avi from having to do in the form. So I've done the form for a few of you, but of those of you who are coming from prior master's degrees or graduate programs, and there's probably about 5 of you, 5 to 6, it's a fairly simple procedure to transfer graduate credit. You can transfer up to 12 credits in from previous graduate work. And it has to have been done in the last 7 years. You have to have gotten a B or better in the coursework, and it has to somehow fit with this degree. So it has to be some kind of international coursework. It is relatively rare to transfer in credits that substitute for your core courses, though we do have some people doing that. International law is probably the most popular one that's found outside of John Jay. Most likely your coursework that you would transfer in would be electives, and those have to be somehow international crime and justice related. So there is a form. If you look at the FAQs, you'll see more information about this. There's a form that you have to fill out. I need your transcript, and I need some kind of course description from the course bulletin or the syllabus. And then once this is approved, it goes to the registrar and it will be reflected on your record. Okay, so transfer graduate credit is something I'd like to take care of before August if any of you are thinking about doing that. And that will also help you plan better because you know that you have certain courses sort of out of the way. It is also possible to go on e-permit to take courses at other CUNY colleges. CUNY is a huge system. There are 18 colleges in CUNY, and you are welcome to look for certainly electives as well as language courses outside John Jay, for which you go on e-permit. You generally have to wait until that particular college has finished their registration period. But City College has an MA in International Affairs. There are interesting language offerings outside John Jay, languages that we don't cover here. For example, Hebrew at Baruch, more advanced levels of Mandarin, Arabic than at John Jay, which tends to offer only introductory courses. So e-permit is something very much to consider. For those of you who came from smaller schools, CUNY is a big bureaucracy. So this means planning ahead, asking a lot of questions, sending some emails, but it's not something that I wouldn't encourage you to do. I very much encourage you to explore the wider CUNY system. And there are students who are also taking doctoral courses. The requirements for this depend on how many courses you've taken and your GPA. But there is one student in our current cohort who, after 1 year, is now going to be taking a doctoral course at the CUNY Graduate Center in the fall. And this is a good idea if you're thinking of graduate school. These courses are generally more advanced than the master's courses, so you'll have a chance to sort of test the waters and see what you think of doctoral coursework. So those are some options that you're free to explore. They are generally done through consultation with the program director and with graduate studies. And in the FAQs handout that's in your packet, you'll see more details on those. The language proficiency. The language proficiency, as many of you have asked, is not an admissions requirement. But we all looked at your admissions application to see that we saw that you had some sort of language skills, because otherwise, if you're graduating on a full-time plan, you only have 2 years to get them. Currently, the language policy is that if you went through high school in another language, you can apply to be exempt from the language proficiency. Otherwise, we use the oral and written test of LTI, Language Testing International. It is the testing arm of ACTFL, the American Council on Teachers of Foreign Languages. It's located in White Plains, and we have an agreement for them whereby you test in a broad number of languages over computer or by booklet in my office at the moment, hopefully moving to the language lab in the near future. At this point, we simply ask that you obtain a rating, and we will take ratings as low as novice. But obviously this test is one, because it's valued and it's a resume entry, it's valued by other agencies, and it is a resume entry, it behooves you to score the highest rating possible and to test when your language skills are the highest they could possibly be. It's a test that you pay separately for. It's $120 at the moment, and it can be done in about 3 hours in my office. So you need to think about preparing for that test. No language coursework counts towards your degree, and you do not even have to take language coursework. Students have taken coursework at John Jay. They've taken it at other CUNY schools. They have also used our language lab, which you have full access to, and there is free tutoring and free Rosetta Stone in our language lab. And then they've also pursued options such as the Alliance Française or the Instituto Cervantes, which they find sometimes have better prices and smaller classes than you might find in a college classroom. So that aspect is truly up to you. And at a later date, I can give you the exact what it means to have a rating of oral advanced or intermediate or novice, because this is very well spelled out by LTI. But essentially at this point, the reason that you have room in your schedule, and the reason that many people choose to graduate in the full 4 semesters, is that you need to factor in the language proficiency training if you don't plan to apply for exemption or if your language skills are rusty. Many of you have a second language already, or maybe it is your native language and this won't be a concern to you, but for those of you that are resuscitating high school French or high school Spanish, we're hoping that you will be able to get those skills through coursework or through preparation to allow you to get the best possible rating on the language proficiency exam. That is therefore a graduation requirement. You can wait till the very last minute to test. And there are students who waited until the beginning of May to test and managed to graduate at the end of May. It takes about 2 to 3 weeks for the results to come in. It's not something I would recommend. But again, you want to test when your skills are at their prime. For some of you, that may be right now. For others, it may be towards the end of the degree. Let me take some questions just so we can break this up, and I'll repeat them so that the people watching at home can hear them. Does anybody have any questions?
How about if you find for exemption? How soon can you do that?
You can do that as soon as you like. Yes. The mechanism, you'll see it on your transcript. It says F Lang, and it's a box that is either ticked or isn't ticked. And I'm the one that tells the registrar to tick it.
Right. So if you were exempt for undergrad, that automatically
No.
transfers?
No, here it's really if you've gone through high school in a foreign language, for which you would submit your high school diploma, or your college diploma if you went through your undergraduate degree in a foreign language. Yeah, that can be done at any time.
And just to be clear, you can take that foreign language test whenever you want.
You can take the foreign language test whenever you want. I am trying, while I'm on sabbatical, again, to relieve Dr. Bornstein of this task. But I will be back towards the end of the semester to be getting ready for the spring semester, so in theory we could do it in December.
So having majored in foreign languages doesn't count?
No. But it sounds to me like you'd be ready to test. Yes. Having majored in a foreign language doesn't count, no, but it sounds like you would be ready to test. Similarly, there are students that say, well, I speak my language at home. No, that's not enough, but it sounds like you would be ready to test. Okay. The reason we use this test is because it is a relatively inexpensive test, it's a convenient test, and it's one that is used in federal agencies, so it is a certificate of its own. It's not sort of John Jay says you can speak Spanish, but rather you have a rating of intermediate from the LTI test. So it's sort of a resume entry for you. It is a resume entry for you, and it may well be accepted at agencies of employment that require any type of foreign language. Any other questions?
For the part-time students, you recommended that 2 core subjects, right? And how many elective that
Part-time is anything less than 4 courses. So 3 courses is considered part-time, as is 2, as is 1.
3 courses means how many classes would that be on weekly basis?
3 courses would mean that you're coming for 6 hours of class a week. Each class is 2 hours a week. A 3-credit class is 2 hours a week. And I generally schedule our classes from 4 to 8 in the afternoon. So from 4 to 6, 6 to 8. Exceptionally 8 to 10. I have 1 course running 8 to 10 this fall. Generally professors and students are not keen to be here this late. But I did have some complaints because the 4 to 6 block means you have to leave work early. It's simply the way the John Jay graduate schedule is at the moment. If there is demand in the future, we will schedule classes on Saturdays. So far we haven't gotten interest for that. And I never schedule them on Fridays because I realize that people like the weekends. So that leaves us Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 4 to 8, and sometimes until 10 at night. And it's meant to accommodate the working student because at master's level, people tend to be working even if only part-time. Okay. So you have to factor in, it's a 2-hour class plus the readings and papers and exams that might go with the class.
I have 2 questions. What would you recommend that you choose on a track?
The track is chosen as you ready towards the capstone because it's contingent on your GPA. What you can start doing already is starting to plan for the track. But it's the program director that allows you to choose certainly the internship and the thesis track because those are contingent on GPA, they're contingent on your having a placement, and they're contingent on there being a faculty advisor ready to supervise you for a thesis. So you formally choose them the semester before you start them, but you can already start aiming towards them and planning your curriculum, employment experience, resume, so that you're ready for them. So at the fall muster, and I'll talk about that in a minute, I usually pass around a list so I get a sense of who's thinking of what. But people's plans change. So I had a student, it's Donnie Coolidge from SUNY Plattsburgh, who came in convinced that he wanted to do an internship. He started a pre-internship at the Veteran Civilian Dialogue, later was employed by them, and now is going to be a veterans advocate at the Urban Justice Center full-time, which means that he's going to do the comprehensive exam. Right? Even though he started with one idea, his career has taken off, and now he's eager to finish, but obviously can't devote the time to an internship, so he's going to do the comprehensive exams. And I'm hoping that that will be a very common scenario because I like to hear of students that do well and that find jobs. Similarly, there are people who start thinking, well, I'm going to do a thesis because I'm PhD bound, and they get more involved with other opportunities. And the PhD becomes something on the horizon that maybe they become a bit tired of studying, it won't be a goal of theirs anymore, and they look for other types of experience. So we encourage you to start thinking about it now, if only because a year from now, you will probably be making the decision. So it's a very quick moving program if you're full-time. And that's why we encourage you to think about it at an early step, to start exploring possibilities, to meet with Linda Mitchell, to get to know faculty, to see who you might choose or ask to be your faculty advisor. And for that, you have a handout in here listing not only the faculty that you'll have, but all the John Jay faculty that have international interests. So that you can start thinking, well, I'd like to get to know so-and-so because it says that that person graduated in such and such and has these interests which are very similar to mine. So maybe I will either take a course with that professor or go to see them during their office hours, make an appointment, and just see how we get along. Right? That's if you're thinking of a thesis. Right? You want to pick your thesis advisor very carefully, and it has to be obviously a mutual decision. They also have to be willing to supervise. Okay, so it's something to start thinking about now, but the formal commitment is about the time that you're taking the capstone. Yeah.
For the internship track, can you choose your own internship, or does it have to be through the
It doesn't have to be through the school. We generally like to approve it. We like it to be the best possible option for you. But yes, you can search for your own internship. Okay. Other questions? Okay, hopefully I've been clear, and you have such a thick packet that you should be able, that's why the FAQs are new, and they're meant to sort of answer the questions that you might have after you go home. Okay, let me just talk briefly about expectations for students and then creating community. And I'm hoping Tiffany Berry, who is the peer advisor, will be here in about 20 minutes or so. As I said before, what do faculty expect from students? They expect them to behave with maturity and to behave professionally. They also expect them to behave with academic integrity, which is why I have included the academic integrity guidelines as a handout in your packet. This is taken very seriously at John Jay, and all of your faculty are plagiarism and cheating experts, I would say. If only because we all know each other very well, and it's a very small program. So if you think about it, you're all taking courses together, and your faculty also collaborate on designing comprehensive exams and participating in governance of the master's degree, so we all know each other very well. And we all use either Turnitin.com, which is the college's purchased web-based software for detecting online plagiarism, as well as recycling of papers, or Blackboard SafeAssign, which is another type of plagiarism detection program. We are not forgiving when it comes to plagiarism and recycling of papers, for which I would say that 2 students have been dismissed from the program already for this. So here's a warning. Don't do it. And if you have doubts about it, you certainly need to reference whenever possible and consult your professors by showing them your written work whenever possible. Okay, so the first step is to read the guidelines on academic integrity, figure out what it constitutes, look at the sanctions, and know that in our program, plagiarism means an automatic F for the course, which drastically reduces your GPA. And depending on what your GPA is, could make graduation impossible. And learn how to cite appropriately, and learn what your professors will accept in terms of any written work that comes from a previous paper or a parallel paper that you're writing for another course. Okay? We realize that it's very tempting these days with the advent of the internet to be careless in terms of what you're taking from another source and not attributing it, but we cannot tolerate it. And the reason that we're very protective about this particular issue is that we want to guarantee your investment. Your investment in your degree is a substantial amount of money, and we want to make sure that this degree is worth something. And the minute that programs are not strict on plagiarism, degrees become worthless. Okay, so we're very careful about this topic, and I'll say it from day one. I'll say it particularly for people who have come from colleges or countries where plagiarism is the norm or is seen as some form of flattery towards the professor or scholars, because I have encountered that before, that it's very much a cultural issue, but it's heavily criminalized at John Jay, should I say, and I'd rather warn you now than have you come to me later saying I didn't know. So that's why we do it as early as Advisement Day. But each of your faculty members will be dealing it on the first day of course, and it will be included, the policy and any particular warnings will be included in the syllabi that you get in graduate school. So it's something to be taken very seriously. So academic integrity. Professional development. Linda Mitchell has already talked about this to a great deal, but we expect you to be interested in your own professional development and open to opportunities. In the packet that I've given you, you'll see there's a whole handout. On one side, listservs, and on the other side, professional organizations that people in our field of study often join. We have this particularly so that you can subscribe to a number of listservs and get constant information on developments and news in the field, and also so that you can consider joining one or more professional organizations and perhaps going to a professional conference your first year. Last year, the students went en masse to Washington. About a dozen of them went to attend the American Society of Criminology conference. They found it was a wonderful experience. It opened their eyes. They got to know each other better. They did it very cheaply by going on Bus for a Buck or whatever it's called, and staying, 8 of them in hotel rooms. And conferences like this are frequent. I believe next year, the criminology ones are not in the tri-state area. This year we were lucky in that there was our own John Jay conference just passed this month, right on campus. It's an international conference. The American Society of Criminology was in Washington. The Academy of Criminal Justice Sciences, which is the Criminal Justice Conference, was in New York. Next year, these conferences are in Chicago and Dallas, but they are not the only ones that people in our field attend. That's why we've given you a whole list. The American Anthropological Association, the American Political Science Association, the American Sociological Association, the International Studies Association. These are all conferences that you would find useful. They have reduced rates for students. They are generally student-friendly. Students can also present at these conferences, which we encourage you to do. So this is something also to think about while you're here. We like to see you involved in academics, but also extracurriculars. At John Jay, Avi, I don't know if you agree, there is probably at least 1 or 2 speaker panel events a week that are open to you to attend, and people are eager for you to attend. A lot of them are held in this room, a lot of them are held in the new buildings, and these are all sorts of speakers and panel discussions and films and book launches that are organized by different offices at John Jay. And if you book yourself in so tightly between work and school, you'll miss out on those, which is a real shame. So we're generally looking for students to be very proactive, not only in the classroom and in getting to know their faculty, but also in terms of their professional activities. They're becoming aware of the news in the field, attending conferences, and attending certainly events at John Jay, which are organized specifically for students. Next, creating community. We have a number of ways that over the past 2 years we have figured out how to link students together. The first, and this only took off successfully last year, is a student Facebook page, which I have nothing to do with, and I don't believe any faculty have anything to do with. And we do that on purpose so that you guys can have your own events, discussions, whinging, whatever you want to call it, those moments where you would really like to just sort of get it out there to your fellow students, or ask for help, or see who needs a roommate, or see who's got an interesting job or placement, share an article summary, complain about a professor. This is your place to do it, and it works quite well. It is monitored by Michael Boisel, who's one of the current students, and I've given you on the program his email, michael.boisel@gmail.com. He is the one to email because he carefully screens who he lets join this group. It's a Facebook group. Okay, so you should email him right away. And it's actually, for those of you who've been asking about housing, this is the best place to go for advice, way above what the college can offer you. Students from last year have sort of figured out New York housing, how to do it on the cheap, and they are, I think, the best ones to consult for housing. They often share with each other job opportunities, internship news. They give advice on courses. They'll say, don't take this course with so-and-so. What we all want to hear, do take it with so-and-so. I'll lend you my textbook. You can buy my textbook. Let me tell you what to expect in this course. They're the ones really to get good advice. So you have over 30 people in that Facebook group now. It's got a really active wall. They joke a lot. And so I would encourage you to join that right away. Okay, and again, that is completely unmonitored, as far as I know, by any of your faculty, and I have nothing to do with it whatsoever, nor do I want to. Okay, it's your place to discuss with each other. So you have that virtual community, which is working really well. What I use, and other faculty use as well, is a Blackboard organization, which you'll be enrolled in automatically with your John Jay email. Blackboard is our virtual platform where we can load syllabi, we can load readings for courses, and I've created a Blackboard organization, which isn't a course, it's just an organization, I enroll all of you automatically, all the faculty are enrolled, which means that if faculty have some news they want to get out to everybody, like for example, our Center on International Human Rights is having a speaker, Professor Andriopoulos, and now Aphrodita, who helps him, can send out that message directly through Blackboard. So it's a way of reaching all of you, but it can only go to your John Jay email address, right? Whereas Facebook could go to any address you want, but I have nothing to do with Facebook. So that is the official organization for giving you updates and news about coursework or what's going on in the program or anything that is related to the governance of the master's program. And for that, you don't have to worry about being enrolled because the minute you get your John Jay degree, your John Jay email, I'll have you automatically enrolled in that. And we do ask, and this is important, that you keep your John Jay inbox clean. You will see, I'm sure you've already seen it, that the college sends you a lot of email, some of which you don't want to read and some of which you do. It fills up quickly, so you need to be monitoring that inbox, delete the emails to free up space that you don't want to read, or archive the emails that you want to keep, so that we can keep sending you stuff. Once your email inbox fills up, I can't get word to you that tomorrow, there's no class, or tomorrow something has been canceled, or there's this internship opportunity and the deadline is tomorrow. You'll miss out on very important things. So you do need to keep your John Jay email clean, and you need to, if you're not going to be using it, forward that email to some sort of email address that you do use, and it's possible to do that. Okay. Once a semester we have musters, and I didn't come up with that military term, but it's sort of stuck, and it's essentially a potluck dinner where once a semester we get together, people socialize, everybody takes turns bringing things, and you'll be asked to bring something to the one we have in the fall. It is led, Avi will be leading one this fall for you. We do it in a large room on campus. We used to bring alcohol. We've been forbidden from doing that. But it's a time where people relax. We do it at night, generally after the 8 o'clock class. Sometimes people stay late. They get to know each other, and we have a speaker. So this past year, we had someone from UN Police in the fall. We had Andrew Carpenter from DPKO, UN Police. And we also had Cindy Smith, who is a criminologist who works at INL, the U.S. Department of State. So she does criminal justice work abroad. We had some sort of speaker. We also had Phil Reichel, who has the corner on the market for the most popular textbook on comparative criminal justice. These speakers are people who are usually colleagues of your faculty members, or as you'll find, people who are coming through New York and who we grab to come to speak to our students. But it's not a formal talk. It's an informal talk, generally about how to choose your career, what's important about their jobs, what do they do all day, how do they relate whatever they studied to their actual job, what are the new developments in the professional workplace, or what are some interesting research topics that haven't been explored yet in our field. It's a fairly informal talk. And we have these once a semester, and I make you come. I can't make you come, but I do say I want you there. So we let you know some time so you can, if you're working, get off work to be there that evening. And it's one of the ways that we build community. We just do them once a semester. We call them our musters because they're the times where we inspect the troops. Faculty members come as well if they're free, but it's mainly a student event, and it's so that you all can get to know each other in a relaxed place. And because it's potluck, it doesn't cost anything, assuming that you take turns bringing the food and the drink. And then there's extracurricular involvement. So some of the master's students have been active in our Model United Nations Club. Others have simply been active by attending events, presenting at conferences at John Jay. Extracurricular involvement is also very important for building community. One of the places that students tend to congregate is in the graduate lounge on the 4th floor. But there's also been students who come at 3 o'clock before the 4 o'clock class and go to the gym together, meet for lunch. I know that this fall semester, I think there's a spot in the agenda between a 4 to 6 class and an 8 to 10 class, so that's a time that you could catch a slice of pizza. and their classmates. There's many different ways for people to get together, and I get the sense that everybody is sort of doing this via the Facebook group that I'm not watching, but it's very active, so I would encourage you. And again, when you email Michael, tell him exactly who you are, because he will say, who on earth are you, and why do you want to join our Facebook group? So you do have to get past the screening, if only because he doesn't let people join the Facebook group, as you would hope, that have nothing to do with our program. Okay, I think that's about it. Any final questions? I don't think I've talked about the certificate on terrorism. Should I mention that? Anybody interested in the certificate on terrorism? Okay, in the back there is a handout. It's essentially the webpage printed out, which details what is necessary to get the Master's Certificate on Terrorism. Some students are particularly interested in terrorism, and we have an excellent Center on Terrorism that predates 9/11 and is full of scholars from all sorts of disciplines. They have created at John Jay a Master's Certificate on Terrorism, which is not a standalone certificate. It can only be obtained alongside a master's degree. It is graduate coursework. It's essentially 4 courses, and the vast majority of the terrorism coursework counts as an ICJ elective. So it's essentially getting 2 degrees for 1. You would graduate, if you did this, with an MA in International Crime and Justice and a graduate certificate in terrorism. And many students find that to be a very attractive thing to do if they're interested in terrorism. It's essentially 3 courses. There's a core course, Criminal Justice 744, Terrorism and Politics, 2 electives, and then there is a pro seminar, which essentially means attendance at 10 of the Terrorism Center's Friday seminars over the course of 1 year. And these are excellent Friday seminars that they hold. They're generally held from 3 to 5 on Friday afternoons. So it is 3 courses and the Friday seminars. And if you're interested, the best thing to do is to enroll, even if you later change your mind, because that will put you on their listserv, and you'll be informed of the Friday seminars and sort of included in the loop. I have had students who have completed the certificate, and I have had others who started it and said, you know what, 1 or 2 courses in terrorism is enough for me. Because keep in mind that the master's degree is fairly light on electives, and these would consume all of your electives and in some cases make you go over the 36 credits. So it is a commitment and an investment of time, but for no extra tuition, you're sort of getting 2 in 1. So for those of you who are very focused on counterterrorism as your career choice, this is something that our master's students, and it's open to master's students of other programs as well, that they seriously consider. Okay, so that's something to think about. And then I've given you, for those of you who want to do your planning, a worksheet to sort of help you plan out when you would graduate. For those of you who have managed to enroll for the fall, this is something that you're welcome to start drafting and go over with me or Professor Bornstein at your convenience. And for those of you who will be registering for courses today after our session with Anil Aduro, this is something that you might want to start penciling in now so that you can figure out your plan for the next 2 or 4 years. Again, you have 8 years to finish your degree. Most people aim at doing it within 4 years. Okay, and on the agenda for today, I've also listed the electives that are being offered this fall, just so you have that clear. Not every elective in the master's course schedule is an ICJ approved elective. The ICJ approved electives are those that I've listed in my letter. And you can generally sense what they are because either they are internationally focused or they're skills based. So they're skills that, like crime mapping, that could be applied anywhere. All right? Have I given you enough information? More questions?
One question on an international visa, I'm only allowed to work on campus.
Correct.
Who to speak to about it?
I'm hoping that our peer advisor will be here shortly because I always pick the peer advisor to be an international student. There are, and she's worked all over campus. It applies to CUNY, not only John Jay. So you have 18 colleges to possibly choose from. She has worked, well, she's worked for me as a peer advisor, that's one possibility. She has worked in financial aid, in the library, in admissions. We have a student from Italy now who's been employed by the Language Lab. Some of the research centers and institutes have possibilities. I would say that up until now, that pool of jobs has been shrinking, but we've been getting a bit of freeing up of the budget lately. So I've been seeing more people saying, you know, I need, the usual title is what, college assistant? I've been seeing more people saying that they're going to be hiring more college assistants in the upcoming year. But I can give you Tiffany's email in case she's not able to make it today. It's Tiffany, Tiffany.Berry, B-A-R-R-Y, at jjay.cuny.edu. She's really got a very good sense because she's from Guyana and she was an undergrad here too, so she's worked on campus for 6 years in a lot of different places. She can sort of give you some ideas of where to go. Yeah. Other questions? You think some questions I'll either need to answer? We try and handle, and I think Dr. Bornstein will be the same, unless it's some sort of interpersonal issue, we try and handle all your queries by email. That means that we don't have to book an appointment with you. You don't have to come to campus because it might not be convenient to you. We try to grease the wheels of the college administrators so that we can forward your query to someone else, get someone to handle your registration problem by email. So that would usually be your first port of call. The program director has office hours once a week throughout the semester, but I find that students rarely come to my office hours. They usually email me. It's much quicker, and it's how we generally try and get problems solved. Again, if it is interpersonal, then we'll probably ask you to come in, or if it's a really complicated problem, then we'll probably ask you to come in and talk to us. But generally, we try and do it all by email. So for those of you who aren't emailers, because this is the younger generation and they're more texters than emailers, we're emailers. Yeah, our generation are emailers. Though I can see the day when we'll be texting. I can see, I think that's about a couple of years off for me, but I can see the day. But at this point, it's still an email. So you would simply say, well, I can't get into this course. It looks like it doesn't recognize my undergraduate stats. You know, can you help me? And then Professor Bornstein would forward that to Anila or her replacement, and she takes care of it through registrar. An overtally in a course is another issue that we deal with. And again, it's usually us forwarding your query to the registrar or to graduate studies. There might be problems with not enough spaces in the courses in the fall, simply because the part-timers from the past year are also enrolling in courses that you may be starting in this fall. And that's why we've expanded our offerings so that all core courses are offered both in spring and fall. So there will be some overtallies given, but at some point that course will close, simply because graduate courses are generally capped at 23 or 25. Professors start to complain when they go over 25, and we violate fire code regulations for our classrooms when they go over 26 or so. So the students complain, right? Because the idea behind a graduate course is that it's not 40 of you in a classroom. It's supposed to be more seminar style. You're all supposed to be able to say something at least once during the 2-hour period, and you can't do that if we have more than 23, 25 students in a class. So if you are late in registering and you do find that the courses you like are full, that's why they're offered in the spring. And I think there's enough flexibility there so that you can still take other core courses and maintain your schedule.
I'll just let you know that my name is on this. My email is abornstein, my BORNSTEIN at johnj, which is jjay.cuny.edu. You can find me on there. And I'm here most days of the week, but not the same time each day. It's a little patchwork of the schedule, but I'm here most days. Can
You have to ask them for the people that will be watching this.
I'm not sure if you already said it, but what are you going on sabbatical for and where?
When am I going and where?
Yeah, where are you going?
Roger.
I have teenagers still at home and elderly parents, so I'm staying in Connecticut, sorry to say.
Oh.
But I would have liked to go somewhere. Chances are I'll be going to conferences and maybe short trips, but I will really be focusing on writing and publishing, and that's actually best done from a home base. So I won't be in my office in the fall except once in a while. I will be on email for emergencies from Dr. Bornstein. I never ever really close down my email. So you might get an out-of-office message saying that I'm not reading it, but I really am. I'm reading it and I'm thinking, well, this is something that Avi can handle, or no, this is a real crisis, a major issue with the program, and I better step in. So I'll be there in the background. I'll be there in the background. But the official out-of-office will say, for all program-related queries, please contact Dr. Winston. And he will be on campus as I will not.
Are there any study abroad options?
There are study abroad options. We have students this summer all over the place. We have 2 in Bali. We have some in the Dominican Republic. John Jay is developing more and more study abroad options, and they are the short variety. You can also find your own, and there are other options through CUNY. Generally, our study abroad options are the 3 weeks in winter session, or 3 weeks in June or July, generally June, right, Avi? They are faculty developed. Most of them have graduate coursework, so they'll take both undergrad and graduate students. Most of them have some kind of crime focus. And my policy has been to allow you to go however it works out. So even if it's a course that's not on our approved electives list, I figure that since you're doing that course in a foreign country, it's probably international enough for us. So we're pretty flexible on taking the credits from the study abroad courses. The one in Bali, I think, is crime and community focused. The one in the Dominican Republic is focused on border and criminal justice issues and deportees. To date, they have all been in English. The ones in Spanish haven't run. That could change in the future. And they are, there are always new ones being developed. I'm not sure that we have a schedule for what's coming up for next winter yet, but they're more and more popular. They're very well priced too.
Who we talk to?
Maureen Coyle is our international programs person. M. Coyle, C-O-Y-L-E. And she is the one who actually helps faculty set up these programs. And she advertises them, markets them, does the pricing for them. It is later up to faculty to hold info sessions and to actually go with students on them. But she's really the point of contact. Do you think that's right, Avi, to say?
Yeah.
It's Lisa Carvalho's replacement, Maureen Coyle. But you'll see flyers around. It's very common at John Jay for everybody to advertise their wares. So on the bulletin boards, you'll see flyers for upcoming courses that are new, to sort of seduce you into taking them because you don't know what they are, they're new. For study abroad programs, and then for all sorts of events and flyers and opportunities. So it's always a good idea to be looking on the bulletin boards as well as on the web page and looking at your incoming email. And the screens. The screens are an important place also. The ones that you see by the elevators, where people also advertise things. So there's many different ways, and faculty know all these ways, so when they have an event, they're blasting it out through all these different ways. You might hear about it through the Blackboard organization, because when I hear of opportunities, I forward them all immediately to you, unless they've already come to you through another means. So you sort of need to be attentive. But we would very much encourage study abroad. Other CUNY schools have study abroads as well, and you can also go on those. And if you happen to know of a program that is not John Jay or CUNY linked, we will also work with you so that you can go on it. We have a student who pursued a whole separate LLM in Utrecht last year, and who's returning to us to finish our MA program and some of his credits transferred through. So we'll work with you on that if you really want to go somewhere else for a longer period and not through John Jay. Yes, the best thing to do is to email the professor or leave a voicemail. The question is whether, what to do if people are commuting and they're late to class, or what are the attendance policies. There is no John Jay attendance policy. The policy is set by your professor. So your professor will let you know how many classes you can miss before it affects your grade, and how much lateness is taken into consideration in your grade. But certainly, it's not only students that commute, but many faculty. So we're understanding of that. There are some days that the trains won't work. We've had snow days. Other problems at John Jay that meant that the buildings had to shut down. So these sorts of things, your professors do understand. But the best thing to do is to shoot an email from your phone to the professor if you're stuck in a tunnel, or to leave a voicemail. Why? Voicemails now, we have a new system where the voicemail comes to us as a voice file on email. So we can get them remotely, very handy, and it's just good for us to know.
I actually had a question going back to the previous topic in terms of study abroad. So I was thinking about taking the elective courses in the American University of Cairo. So I was wondering, how does that work? Like in terms of leaving them for the end, so like before the capstone, I can take them there.
You would want to bunch them up in one semester, right, and go for a semester. And before you go, you would want to clear those courses and the credits with me, so there would be no doubts when you got back as to whether they were transferred.
And the electives, I have to take them before the capstone, or I can
No, you can take them at any time, even after the capstone. The issue is bunching them all together so that you have that semester away.
And they have to be approved electives.
They have to be electives that are international in scope, and they're approved by the program director.
Okay.
Yeah, for which, as with all study abroad programs, we pretty much have a policy of working with you. Now, if you were saying, well, I'm going to study art at the American University in Cairo, well, no. But justice, as you'll see in much of John Jay's marketing, is a very broad concept. And a lot of what you study can somehow be related to justice. And if you're studying it in Cairo, it is international.
Okay.
So it's something that we would work with you to do.
So if I decide to do the thesis track, can I do it there?
If your advisor is willing to supervise you on email, yes. Yes. And there are advisors who, for a lot of the supervision, it will be an email relationship anyway. Yes, especially if you're doing field work in another country, yes, advisors would be open to that. But it's between you and your advisor, and you would have to say, listen, this semester I'm going to be in Cairo, I'm going to be collecting my data, are you willing to supervise me with this sort of arrangement? So, yeah, excellent question. Other questions? Okay, well, in the interest of time, I think Tiffany's probably been caught on the train herself, but Tiffany Berry is our peer advisor. You will meet her at some point, or meet her replacement if we choose a different peer advisor for the fall because she's obtained a full-time job. But you can still email her. Michael, don't hesitate to email her because she does sort of have the word out on working on campus, and also the ins and outs of being an international student and moving towards the practical training aspect of the student visa, because she's doing that now herself. So she's got very good relationships also with our international student advisors at John Jay, and on-the-ground experience with all sorts of bureaucracy. So she's an important one. She has graduated, and so she's a success story for us and very helpful to you. And there's other students currently enrolled in the program that are coming to be very knowledgeable international students that I can also give you emails for. Okay, so I guess at this point, any more questions? Okay, thanks very much for coming. For those of you who haven't registered, Anila Duro's in the back, and she can help you register right now. And I'll stay around a bit as well for more one-on-one advising. But otherwise, the next time we see you is August 21st for orientation. That is a Tuesday, I believe. It's from 3 to 7. And this is the moment at which you're oriented to John Jay in general. There's really no program session then because it's understood that we've done it today. But it is definitely worth coming to because you'll get tours, library info, more career advice. Anila, what else is on orientation?
Workshops, meet and greet.
Workshops, meet and greet, receptions. It's your formal introduction to the building, the buildings. into the various services and resources. It's a very good idea to become familiar with all the different nooks and crannies at John Jay, particularly in the library. Also, for those of you who may need it, the Writing Center. This can all be done in one fell swoop on August 21st, so that's not a day to miss. And then the first day of classes is August 27th. And that's when Dr. Bornstein will be taking over. So thanks very much for attending today, and very much welcome to you. I hope I haven't confused you with a lot of information. I think that most of what I've told you, you could even watch it again once this video comes out. But if not, it's pretty much all in the packet or on the website, and we're only a keyboard flick away. So don't hesitate to contact us, and thank you.